Handstands on the floor versus parallettes. Let's discuss. What's going on, Sword of Gymnastics Nation? How the heck are you doing? We are now 405 members strong.
I'm not fucking leaving!
This is powerful. This is powerful. We're gaining momentum. Anyway, today's episode is going to be all about the handstand, okay? We're going to discuss using the floor versus the parallettes. I know this is a topic that one of my friends actually, Kyle Holmes Fitness, we talked about it today. He trains parallettes, I do floor. So what we're going to do is discuss the differences, the pros and cons, what I like about each one, what I don't like about each one. It's going to be pretty good, and I'm also going to be doing a handstand push-up 90-degree training vlog, okay? It's going to be a good episode. Let's get this thing started. And as always, I always forget, smack that subscribe button. It's the red one below this video. If you're not subscribed, I don't know what you're doing. You're missing out. Alright guys, so I use these parallettes and made them out of PVC. I might make a video on how to make these. Let me know in the comments section if that's something you're interested in. Otherwise, the reason why these are superior in a few ways is because they don't hurt your wrists. Like here, as you can see in this position, my wrist is like very perpendicular. When you're on the floor, your wrist is in this position, so if you really don't have loose wrists, you're gonna probably get tendonitis. When I have wrist tendonitis, I typically train on these guys just to prevent that. And a good thing about the parallettes as well is that it takes an axis out of the equation. With the handstand, you do have more directions that you can fall, but when you're on these parallettes, it locks you in place, so the primary motion, the primary difficulty, the main thing you need to balance is going back to front. The handstand, you can kind of fall to your side a little bit. This takes that entirely out of the equation. And the next thing about the parallettes is that it's going to be easier to balance on them. And the reason being is you can grip this thing. You can push and you can pull. So on the floor, imagine your hands being flat on the ground. You can't really pull up. But on this thing, in this situation, when you're gripped onto this thing, you can push and pull. And also, I've talked about this on the channel before, but basically there's an equation in physics called torque. It's basically force times distance. Now, imagine you're gripping this thing here and I'm pushing down with my hand like that. You get this entire distance pushing down on you. Like that is a lot of force, that's a lot of stability that you don't get when you're on your hands. When you're on your hands, you have your fingers. That's all you have, that entire surface area. Here, if you need to make an adjustments, the adjustments happen a lot easier. So do I consider the parallettes training wheels? Absolutely not, because it does serve a very, very good benefit. It is easier on your wrist, and again, that's pretty easy to control. Typically, most people do have a longer handstand when on the parallettes than on the floor, because again, you have all different ways to control your handstand. Now, if you're trying to be a really well-rounded athlete, I do recommend having proficiency on both of these things. You want to be able to do a freestanding handstand on the floor and on the parallettes. It's actually really shocking the amount of people that can do one or the other. I know one of my friends who can do like a damn good one-arm handstand. He can't do a handstand on the parallettes. I'm like, Max, what the f are you doing? Like, how are you doing this? You're so good. And then he's like, man, I don't know how you do it on the parallettes. Now, when it comes to doing handstand push-ups, doing them on the floor versus on the parallettes is going to be a completely different ball game. The handstand on the floor, shorter range of motion, a lot more balance required. The parallettes, you're going a lot further. Like this position here, my hands are almost by my shoulder, very deep range of motion, but again, you can control this entire thing. You can control the entire way through, and I do feel way more in control on the parallettes, although I do think they're strength-wise more difficult. So for this workout, again, I'm gonna do calisthenics pushing, handstand push-ups, 90-degree push-ups, but I'm gonna alternate between floor and using the parallettes. I'm just gonna talk about what I think, how I feel, things like that. It's gonna be spicy. So smack that subscribe button. Okay guys, so I just tried both of these and I will say that the parallettes feel a lot easier. Again, going back to that control is so much better. I'm doing tiny little adjustments in my wrists and those things are just kind of pushing down into the ground, keeping me stable. So I feel a lot more comfortable in the parallettes. I also feel like I can get into a better position like a lot easier. The handstand's like very, very technical. I get my ears near my biceps and it just feels a little bit better on the parallettes. We'll run the same test except with handstand push-ups. Let's do it. Alright, so right now I am struggling with the parallette handstand push-ups. I just don't do them because primarily I train on the floor, and I will say right now that these two things are like very different beasts. So I do feel like I have way more control, but the balance is like a different game. Like with the handstand push-ups, I do tend to lean forward a little bit. Here on the parallettes, I have to go right down. So again, I think the technique is way different, but I like it. And for me to continue doing this as like a well-rounded person, I'm gonna need to train more of both. And in all honesty, I haven't really done these, but they feel pretty damn good. So I'm gonna keep sticking at it, do a few more sets and reps on the parallettes. Again, a very different technique, but because I had that control, I could hit that bottom and then kind of explode out and get to the top. But again, it's like, it felt more powerful, but the technique was different. So I think after I kind of exploded out the bottom, the technique kind of came in where I had to like halfway through, once my arms are past parallel, like readjust and then kind of like push up like that. Very interesting to see, very interesting to compare like this. I've never done that before, so this is good for me to see as well. My parallette handstand push-ups aren't amazing, so it's something I need to work on. Let's try some 90-degree push-ups. Okay, so this is my first time trying this. I haven't ever done a 90-degree push-up on parallettes before. Let's see what happens.
Invincible.
Alright, so my first initial thoughts from doing that, on the parallettes, the 90-degree push-up feels way more like piecewise, like down, lean forward, and then like push back and then go up. It's more like L-shaped, whereas when I'm on my hands, it just feels like down and just like fight to get that thing fucking up. So that's the first thing I noticed. I'm gonna try to do a few more. The last one was very archy, but like it's my first time really trying this, so I'll take it, but it's gonna be a little better. Alright, so what's interesting about that is I completely swung into it and I swung out of that. Like there was very little strength there. And like I said this entire time, when you're on the parallettes, you get that control. You don't get that on the floor. Like on the floor, it's entirely pushing. You lean on your own and then you push out of it. There, I'm like pushing and I kind of felt like a pull because I was like pulling and then I was able to snap out of it on the bottom. Like, it's a little bit cheaty. Like you can probably swing on these a lot harder. So as you guys can see, today has not been my best day. I am only on like 2 days rest because I'm trying to lump everything in because my friend's got a going away party and I'm gonna be hungover. And I can't do handstands when I'm hungover. So everything's getting lumped in together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take more time to hit volume instead of strength, because Monday, that was my strength workout. Today is gonna be a little bit more volume, especially after the shit we did today. Pretty good workout, but right now, just some volume work, chest, triceps, functional exercises, and handstands. Alright guys, so in conclusion, the freestanding versus the parallettes are going to be a lot different. There are a lot of similarities, but in all honesty, I feel like there are more differences in technique and the small technicalities than there were similarities. Now, this is what I've said this entire episode. I really recommend having both because we are trying to be really well-rounded at calisthenics, bodyweight training, gymnastics. Now, if you're just doing handstands on the floor without the parallettes, I do recommend adding it because it's a lot different. As you guys saw from today's episode, the freestanding handstand push-ups is a very different technique than handstand push-ups on the floor. These small things are just going to make us better, more well-rounded athletes. So as I said and as I've noted, my parallette game was a little bit shitty today. I'll be honest, it needs to be a little bit better. So I'm going to stay on top of that and I'm just going to dominate it because that's what we do here, baby. Alright? That's what we do. So that's gonna be it for this episode. If you guys like content like this, please subscribe. It helps out the channel bigly. We're growing this army. All right, we need a sword gymnastics army. We need to get everyone in shape. We need to entertain everybody, okay? I need your help, all right? So smack that subscribe button. Otherwise, leave a like, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's episode of Dragon Ball Z, bitch.